2014 AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame inductee George Barber. Millions of people have a passion for motorcycling, but only one of us has turned that passion into one of the world's most revered museums and racetracks.
When I think about George Barber, I think about living out every kid's dream, which is to go and buy every toy in the toy store and then put it under the coolest building you can possibly build and have the best museum in the world. George has beat them all.
There's so many motorcycles that it is absolutely overwhelming. It is really, and it shows what his interest is, how deep his interest goes with motorcycles.
This masterpiece began over 25 years ago when sports car racer George Barber noticed the beauty of motorcycles while working on his cars.
Well, I raced Porsches for about 10 years, and I did all my own work on the cars, and that was as much fun as really racing them. So when we started doing a few motorcycles, I began to notice the transmissions, the cylinder heads, the front brakes, the rear brakes, and I was fascinated with engineering. Cars are a beautiful paint job and a set of hubcaps, but motorcycles are just wonderful creatures.
As the collection grew, it was opened to the public in 1994 in downtown Birmingham. Although visitors raved about his museum at the time, George began dreaming about a bigger plan to not only preserve motorcycle history, but to build a premier racetrack.
We started off with a track being large enough to test our restoration jobs on motorcycles. And then it grew a little bit more and a little bit more. So at that point, I decided to build a racetrack and do it right the first time and really do it to where people would want to come to see it in Birmingham. And I think we've done that.
After 3 years of construction, Barber Motorsports Park was opened to the public in 2003. Over 800 acres of countryside was transformed into a masterpiece dedicated to the motorcycle. Since that time, it has been a favorite stop on the AMA Pro racing circuit.
One of the most awesome spectating racetracks we have here in the country, and I've been fortunate enough to have some good history with it. Won my very first championship, my first pro championship, the very first race that we ever held there for AMA Pro Racing, and then won my first Superbike championship there. Got to ride the Spider in the middle of it, and so I think it's awesome that the motorcycle community would show him thanks by putting him in the Hall of Fame, and thanks for all your hard work.
The museum, which overlooks the track, has close to 1,500 vintage and modern motorcycles and racing cars. Over 200 different manufacturers from 20 countries are represented. It is the largest motorcycle museum in the world. In 2014, the Barber Motorsports Park hosted the 10th annual Barber Vintage Festival to yet another record crowd of over 60,000 people.
The one thing I personally enjoy more than anything else about the relationship with myself and George Barber is he lets me and my friends race 100-year-old motorcycles on his racetrack.
The Barber Vintage Days are very special to me because I get a chance to meet people from all over the world, and I really take time to ride the trams, to walk around and see everybody, and to talk with people and see their enthusiasm. It's a very special time for me.
Mr. Barber's substantial investment in this masterpiece has resulted in a $1.5 billion impact on the economy of Birmingham. It should be noted, however, that Mr. Barber does not own Barber Motorsports Park. His investment in this masterpiece was actually a donation to a foundation which owns and runs the track.
Mr. Barber can't benefit from it, or our company can't, and so I think his idea is for this to last forever.
You know, a lot of people, they don't know what they do with their money, and you could be an Evel Knievel, and you know, he had this quote that said, if God wanted me to take that money with me when I died, he'd put handles on it. So he just, you know, he's like, I made 33 million, I spent 35. And then you take a George Barber who's accumulated this, and he's like, I want my dream. I have it. There's no point to die with it. Let's give something back to the community and the kids, and wow, he has done it tenfold, and that's what I always think makes the right businessman. When you can give something back to the community, and him taking his hard-earned money and giving back is the reason that he made that money in the first place.
Initially, George Barber's plan was to build a facility for the people of Birmingham and the surrounding area to enjoy. A decade later, it has become one of the top motorcycle destinations in the world, and he's not done yet.
Oh, there's a lot more to come. We're presently building an autocross track and some buildings for classrooms and storage and whatnot over on the other side of the park. I'm also working on an addition to the museum that will be to the west, which will be probably another 80,000 square feet. And I'm also going to build a bridge that goes from the front of the museum across the racetrack to a kind of a garden area that you can sit in and enjoy and also be close to the racetrack.
For his visionary, philanthropic, and enduring contributions to the world of motorcycling, the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame proudly welcomes George Barber.